Hey kids, what time is it?
What time is it?
It's Community Conversations time.
Community Conversations time. That's right. From the beaches of South Florida to the hills of Tennessee. From New York to Hawaii. Tell your friends that Community Conversations is about to inform the next generation with news, without fear, and educate them without a pain.
And a warm South Florida and Costa Rica welcome to all of you.
This 1 hour forum deepens connections, and it provides discussions on a range of topics including social emotional issues, improving relations with law enforcement, post-secondary education, careers, health and wellness, politics and race, inclusion and equality.
Focus on an initiative. Case in point tonight, you all were speaking about gun violence. Since I've been growing up, that's been a thing, especially living here in Florida.
Community Conversations, where it's all about highlighting the talented youth in our communities and the great things that they are doing.
In terms of encouraging women's involvement in civil rights activism.
Community Conversations.
Hello to all our news-loving fans. It is now 7 p.m. I am C. Ron Allen.
And I am Jim Chard, the former vice mayor of Delray Beach, Florida.
And welcome to this week's episode of Community Conversations, dedicated to all our fine educators out there who are resting, I hope, this week. And hopefully next week, they have another week off from school, right? Next week?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. Obviously, this is not your regular crew sitting in these chairs tonight because Denaya is out somewhere celebrating her birthday, and Rihanna is out at her job, Chick-fil-A, making all the money, and we got the big chair tonight.
All right. And we are coming to you from my neighborhood. I just live a block away from here. We are coming to you live from the 505 Teen Center in downtown Delray Beach. And we have another banner show for you tonight.
Yes, we do.
So sit back and get ready for this 1 hour ride. Hopefully it won't be bumpy.
No, hey.
On this,
Are we riding in a Tesla or what?
Well, we're going to talk about Tesla. And mine's right out here. We could take the camera out.
All right.
On this, the last show of 2023, we will tell you about a major recall of a popular call.
Wow. And then we'll have an update on a group of Chicago bluesmen who have some Palm Beach County students singing the blues. A story you'll see here on Community Conversations. And I'm told that just a few minutes ago, CBS 12 had that story on in Palm Beach County. Darn it, they beat us to it. Man, how did that happen, Jeremiah? Come on now.
So I'll bet they don't have the story about the California chicken, right?
I bet they won't.
With more shoes and TikTok followers than most of us humans.
Can't wait to hear more about that one. But anyway, some good news from Mother Earth. After 30 years of meeting to discuss the risk of climate change, leaders from nearly 200 countries reached a historic agreement this week at the COP28 Climate Summit in Dubai. Representatives discussed, debated, haggled. You can just imagine speaking of what their politicians do.
They're politicians too, and everybody has different interests. Having the COP28 put on in a Middle Eastern country.
What is the COP28?
It is an agreement worldwide to reduce greenhouse gases and hopefully reverse this climb of the temperature on Earth that is causing so many problems like growing deserts.
And like what's happening here now, because I just spoke to some folks up north and they're saying it's 40 degrees. Unlike previous years, this time, as you know, we always have snow.
Well, and the glaciers are disappearing. The hunks of Antarctica are breaking off. And these aren't, little snowballs. This is hunks the size of Rhode Island. And what really is scary, I don't know how much you want me to go.
No, keep going. You're Al Gore, so go ahead. You're today's Al Gore.
That's a compliment. If it is the so-called sea ice that is floating on the ocean, when it melts, it does not.
Oh, it does not
raise the water temperature because you've already got it in the water. But if it's on land, like on Greenland or Iceland, and Greenland, of course, is much worse. It's much bigger. And when that goes into the ocean, the water rises.
And you know what happens when the water rises.
Mm.
Anyway, like they do in Delray. But when you were in Delray, you debated sometimes and you haggled sometimes and you fought sometimes. It's normal for politicians, right? I'm just a newsman. I'm
Well,
just asking.
I find there are a lot of great things in Delray, but a lot of things that could be better. And I enjoy getting involved in all of those.
Anyway, representatives over there, they discussed, they debated, they haggled for 2 weeks before reaching a compromise that for the first time ever calls for a global shift away from fossil fuels, which are the chief cause of global warming. Now, countries will also sharply increase investments into renewable energies like solar and obviously wind power. Critics point to enormous loopholes in the agreement and warn that nations may not have the power to enforce the regulations. But the European Commissioner for Climate Action is optimistic, calling it the deal, the beginning of the end of fossil fuels. Wow.
You know what's really interesting about that is this discussion, these thousands of people that came together are meeting in oil-rich companies, the countries that depend on fossil fuel. So there was a real concern that given who the host was, they would not be able to make the decisions that they obviously did make, as you say, with some loopholes. But now those countries have to find an alternative means, which is, I think, something that's very important for our future well-being, is to come up with some sort of new industry that those countries can rely on.
And you know, the North American mindset is, as I can relate to, because a lot of people who hang around think this way. Who cares? Why should we care about what happened overseas?
Well, that's a soft pitch. When the waters rise, they take everybody. So you see in any of the large cities on the ocean, they all are suffering from flood damage, whether it's Miami and Miami Beach or New York City or Mumbai, and whole islands, whole countries are being flooded. And if you look at Bangladesh, their sidewalks are now wooden walkways because where there was land and there was sidewalks, you have to raise it. And kids go to school with their book bags and they're sort of slopping through the water. And it's only going to get worse if we don't do something about it.
You probably remember the years some time ago when Al Gore, you mentioned Al Gore earlier, when former Vice President Al Gore, he warned us about this.
Yes. What was it? Inconvenient Truth?
Yep.
And he gave all the numbers. He showed what was going to happen. And for those of who live in Florida, this is something I really remember. He showed what Florida looks like now, and then what it will probably, because Florida, we think a mountain is 12 feet above sea level. And if your sea level is going up an inch a year, or even if it's an inch every decade, pretty soon you're going to see more and more Florida look like a much, much smaller peninsula. As it has in the past. This is not the first time it's happened, but it's the first time that it's been man-made.
Yep.
So you want to talk about Tesla?
Yeah, talk to me about Tesla. What's the latest?
Well, here's what I'm saying is that there has been, other than the COP28, which obviously is really pushing for electric cars, there is a bump in the road right now with Tesla and the driverless technology. We all thought maybe 5 years ago that a lot of cars would be driverless by this time. And we're finding it's a lot more difficult than we thought, that the human brain is pretty sharp at picking out shapes and speeds and so forth. So the autopilot feature actually comes on every Tesla, and it's up to you to pay the money and turn it on. And when they sell it to you, they turn it on automatically. So you get to try it. And they sort of try before you buy. And I have to say, it's fabulous. It really is fabulous, but it's not perfect. and there are a number of accidents, too many accidents.
Right.
And I know there's one near here a couple of years ago where I think it was a semi-trailer truck that did a U-turn out on 441. And because of the lighting and the color and so forth, the autopilot didn't pick it up. So disaster ensued. But I do have to say, the number of accidents of automobiles that are not Tesla or are not EVs or are not on autopilot is humongous. And I can't quote off the top of my head, but I think automobile deaths in the US, and those are primarily internal combustion engines, are perhaps the second leading cause of death, maybe the third. So we all kind of focus on autopilot and Tesla, but we have to look at the whole automotive industry.
Full disclosure, my co-host tonight drives a Tesla. In fact, he lives and swears by Tesla. Let me ask you this. The statute of limitation, I think it probably ran out by now, but have you ever used the autopilot?
I did when I first bought it, yeah.
And how was it?
I loved it. You still have to keep your hands on the wheel. And if you take your hands off the wheel, the autopilot basically turns off and the car slows down.
I read recently or heard recently where there was a crash where the driver was in the back seat.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can't you can't either legislate or design for stupidity, or not too much of it. So in this particular case, and it's not the only one, the driver turned on autopilot, jumped in the back seat, and started playing video games or something.
Anyway, quick story. A few years ago, a friend of mine here in Delray has a Tesla. Shortly after they came out, and we were heading out to Belle Glade. So he picked me up, got to Southern Boulevard, and got on Highway 80, and that thing started driving itself. Mm-hmm. And there was a Palm Tran bus ahead of us, and he went down, and he went this way, and he went up. Wow.
Yeah. Well, when I first used it, you're holding the wheel, but you're not steering.
So, exactly.
You'd come up on a truck, and you have these huge 18-wheelers barreling on at 80 miles an hour. And the Tesla keeps you in your lane, close to it. And I found that I had sort of unknowingly, unconsciously, whenever I came up on a truck like that, I'd kind of move over.
And then it pulled you back over?
It would, yeah. But it took me a while to feel safe with that. But you get used to it, and it's nice.
So what's the news about Tesla? Why are we talking about it today?
Well, I think that these studies by the federal government on the autopilot feature have sort of come to some conclusions that they're still not perfect. On the other hand, what's the company, Waymo, that's a spinoff from Google. They have 2 cities where they have driverless taxis today in production, Phoenix and San Francisco. And I think San Francisco has about 100, 150 of them. And
are they Teslas?
They are not. They're somebody else's EV, but it's the Waymo technology is the key thing. That's the equivalent of the autopilot. And I don't know if any of the records right now, but so far they are working and they haven't been taken off the road, and passengers hail them, get in the taxis, and they just tell them where to go.
Jeremiah, story for next year. Let's make a note of that, because I want to hear more about this technology.
We can take a trip out there.
When you're ready, let me know.
Can you imagine San Francisco?
McCoy Revere Beach City Council member, and we're here with
Blue Cat Palm Beach County.
What's this?
And I would like to acknowledge Mr. C. Ron Allen, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, as well as my son, Pat Garrett. We're proud of having any members of the Divine Nine in the house. Just a nice salute out to you guys. Thank you all for having us. This is our 4th or 5th year coming down here during the holiday season. Thanks to Mr. C. Ron Allen, as well as Mr. Dwayne Bryant for hooking us on up. and we're being documented here by the news. It's always cool to be able to get documented by the news, because sometimes when you see people on the news, sometimes it's something that's not so nice, or they're dunking a basketball, which is cool. But you get a chance to see these little guys and little girls. One, two. Let him hold it, because you're going to sing. This is Cornelius, y'all. He was the son of the name Wednesday. Come on, Cornelius. You going to sing with me? See, we adopt him. We adopt a guy every day. Okay. 1, 2. Okay. Yeah, don't knock my teeth out. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I've got a caterpillar, and his name is Freddie. And he'll turn into a butterfly when he gets ready. What will he do for this? And he will fly. And he will fly. And he will fly.
Well, I'm not sure what happened there, but they got a sneak preview of what's coming up.
Yeah,
huh?
I guess so.
Wow.
I wanted to say two more things if I could.
What do you mean?
Imagine San Francisco, which has all these little narrow streets and these steep hills being driven by a robot, basically. And that is happening now today with hundreds of rides every day on those cramped streets. That's, to me, amazing. But the other thing is that the Tesla that I own today is not the same Tesla I bought 3 years ago, because they update the operating system over the air constantly. There's probably an update once a month. And so you'll see that the screen changes, you'll see that the capabilities change. And one of the things they can change is upgrading autopilot. So when these millions of transactions come in, because they track all of the Teslas and what they're doing, they can then sort of backward integrate and figure out what the problem was and build that into the next release of the over-the-air update.
So everything is done
through the cloud.
Through the cloud.
Yeah.
Wow. So what is the NTS? What is it? NTSB?
Yeah. I think we're going to have to learn a whole different way of driving. Just like AI is teaching us a whole new way of doing education,
right?
Or city government, for that matter. And I don't think we're going to be able to take our eye off the road anytime soon, or sit in the backseat and read a book. But it certainly does make it much more comfortable to ride. You can move your body around. You don't have to be stuck in the same position. So it's bringing benefits already. And the other thing I'd say is, as you're driving, your car is talking to the superchargers along the way. So my car tells me when it's time for me to get off, where to get off, and how many open stations there are, how long it's going to take me to recharge and be ready to go again. So that's not exactly autopilot, but it is pretty intelligent communication.
So.
Yeah.
That's what you call a smart car, huh? Folks, mark your calendar for Saturday, February 3rd for an evening of Black excellence under the stars in Delray Beach. By the way, you were there last year.
I was, and I'm going to be there this year.
There you go. 5 African Americans who have excelled in their respective disciplines will be awarded or rewarded or given their flowers at this event, which is fit for a king and queen. The event in its second year will feature music by J Sharp Band, food, and lots of networking opportunities. Tickets are $50 and VIP $100. You may visit KOP Mentor Network's website at kopmn.org or Eventbrite to secure your seat.
The National Film Registry just released its 2023 lineup of movies worth watching. A total of 25 features are chosen annually to be added to the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. I thought they just did books.
Yeah,
I didn't
know that.
That's great.
Wow, learn something only on Community Conversations.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm going to have to tune in every night now,
There you
or every
go.
Friday. Included
You
in
mean
this,
you have not been? I thought you were one of our followers. You
I
were.
am.
You were when you were a politician.
I'm. I still tune in
Okay, got you.
because I really respect what you're doing.
Well,
here, and
well thank
it's-
you so much.
It's really important. So, one of those that is going into, I guess, the Hall of Fame of movies is Home Alone. which-
Macaulay Culkin.
yes. And who's now what, 40? Time passes.
Wow.
Apollo 13, which
Mhm.
is amazing, amazing movie.
Yep.
Iconic space exploration
Yep.
film.
Hmm.
The animated holiday flick, The Nightmare Before Christmas. And
Wow.
timeless Disney classic,
Lady and the Tramp.
Now, I have a personal connection with two of those.
Mhm.
Nightmare Before Christmas is written by a very, very famous guy that I've played tennis with
Mhm.
before. And the Apollo,
Apollo.
Kevin Bacon was in it.
Mhm.
And Kevin Bacon is lots of
Right,
things,
right,
but
right.
he was the son of Ed Bacon,
One of my favorites.
who was the person who redesigned downtown Philadelphia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Some stories.
We'll have to
Share
share
for later
those,
on.
yeah.
If you're just joining us, you're watching Community Conversations New Year's edition, which is hosted by yours truly, C. Ron Allen, and Jim Shard, the former mayor of the beautiful city.
Vice mayor.
Former vice mayor. I stand corrected. Vice mayor
Yep.
for the city of Delray Beach. Where is that?
City of Delray Beach?
Yes, sir.
Right outside our door?
In Palm Beach County, South Florida. So, Vice Mayor, many young people out there, as we say young people, because that's mainly who we're targeting, but we have a lot of seniors who watch us too. But they're senior around town, didn't realize that you at one time were young like they are now. And you were once a former athlete, am I correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, I'm still an athlete.
Still an athlete.
A little
What do you
slower.
play, the
No,
hobbies?
I water ski.
I
have a boat.
Yes, I know
I
that.
have a canal,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a partner, and he does barefoot and I do slalom. So I do that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about Jim Shard. What was life like for you as a young man growing up, as a child growing up, and where did you go to school? And tell us about the Jim Shard that we don't see when we watch the screen in Delray.
And I can tell how I became a politician.
I don't want to hear that right now. Tell me about the Jim Shard that we see every day.
I grew up in the Midwest.
Yep.
Couldn't wait to get out.
With Dick Cheney?
He's in the far west.
Okay.
And went to public school, and then decided I wanted to go out to California for college, which I did. And then I wanted to go to the East Coast for graduate school, which I did. And then moved to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And
You went to Harvard, right?
I went to Harvard. I
Mhm.
have 2 master's degrees
Yep.
from Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
And then worked for somebody that you may remember. I'm not sure if anybody watching as well. John Lindsay.
John Litt. Oh, yes.
At that time, New York was considered kind of a bundle of trash. And John Lindsay came in with all of these ideas, and he isn't necessarily remembered as a revolutionary figure, but he did some amazing things with the city. And it is what it is today in large part because of things that he started then.
And that's where you whet your appetite
Yes.
in politics.
I mean, one of the, in addition to Kevin Bacon being there then, one of the things that really happened were the parks were saved. The parks were a place that people were really afraid to go into.
Right.
Nobody went in at night. And what Lindsay did is basically open them up, took the cars
Right.
out. So you didn't have cars running through. So the bicyclists came in, the runners came in, the picnickers came in, the concerts came in, and totally changed that whole part of the city, which is generally considered as the lungs
Right.
of the city. So That really got me excited. I've also done a stint in the private sector. And then I moved down to Florida and pretty soon found myself involved in lots of not-for-profits. And that's how you and I met.
Mm-hmm. That's all right. That's all right. So, what else happening?
This one?
Yes.
NewBZ?
Noobs.
Noobs?
Mm-hmm.
Lost a few toes to a parasite.
And who's Noobs? He's a California chicken.
Is that the big chicken at the games?
He has more shoes and more TikTok followers than most humans.
But really lost a few toes?
Yes, sir.
And what kind of parasite was this?
Well, let's see.
Let's see. Saw him comfortably strutting his stuff in a tiny pair of dog's boots and decided to chip in. Now Noobs the chicken has 64 pairs of kicks and Crocs to choose from every day.
That would be a sight to see
for
this
him.
Chicken, yes.
And what about the real dogs? Does Noobs produce boots for them too?
Well, strangers have a way. I should say, people have a way with their generosity. It seems like they care more for. Anyway, Noobs was recently wheelchair bound due to another health problem, but after some.
Is this happy news? Are we
happy? Okay. Well, I asked Jeremiah. Denia's not here today, so he made this happen. Noobs was recently wheelchair bound due to another health problem, but after some chicken physical therapy, he's back up, well healed, and preening for the camera on social media. Well, folks, schools are out for the winter break this week, but one group of students have been meeting and learning about one type of music, the blues. The students from the southern end of Palm Beach County to the north end are attending the Fernando Jones International Blues Camp at Azure Estates in Revere Beach. They began on Tuesday and wrap up tomorrow with a showdown on the lawn outside the clubhouse. The campers from as young as 7 and old as 12 been spending their mornings learning the history of blues, different songs, and different cues in music. Wow. Under the tutelage of Fernando Jones, the blues ensemble director at Columbia College in Chicago. We'll hear more from Mr. Jones later on. But we have a video, I'm told, of Mr. Jones in action. What do you have for us, Jeremiah?
And he will, and he will, and he will. I got a caterpillar, and her name is Betty. Can you say Betty? Betty. And she'll turn into a butterfly when she gets ready. What will she do? She will fly, and she will fly, and she will fly. She will fly, right? What it is? And she will fly. She will fly. She will fly.
Goodbye now, goodbye.
All right, let's hit him with that goodbye. Let's hit him with that goodbye. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
See, Matt, they were having fun up there. Now, do you like the blues?
Love the blues.
Oh, you
Love
do.
the
Well,
love the history of the blues.
That's all right. Jones and his three-man team wants to introduce these youth to something new in hopes of giving them an opportunity to appreciate and understand a fundamental part of American music. As I said, we'll hear more from Mr. Jones later in the show. The campers played a game of golf with inner-city youth golfers on Tuesday afternoon. Wow. And on Wednesday, they entertained passengers as they boarded Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville at Sea at the Port of Palm Beach. They had a pep talk from a performing artist, and Tom Twyford, good old Tom Twyford, tight line from the West Palm Beach Fishing Club, also stopped by to cheer them on. Let me also add that Twyford's late wife's foundation, the Sue Twyford Memorial Fund, made it possible for several kids to attend the camp, as well as Jim DePaula of Keller Williams Realty, Circe Denny, Scarola, Barnhart, and Shipley, PA, as well as Estella's brilliant bus.
Now, didn't you bring that program down from Chicago?
That's correct.
Here?
Yes.
And you and KOP Mentoring started that.
That's correct.
What, 4 years ago?
4 years ago, exactly.
Yeah.
I saw him
Yeah.
5 years ago in Chicago, and we brought him down here.
That's a great story.
Yep. I'm told that earlier today, the Blues Kids entertained seniors at the Lindsay Davis Senior Center, and tomorrow they'll be culminating their performance on the grounds at Azura Estate from 10 to 11 a.m.
You're invited to the ribbon cutting of Island Cove Housing Community on Wednesday, January 17th of the next year, 2024, at 10 a.m. We'll have more information as we get closer to the event.
And that's your attempt to address the affordable housing challenge here we have in Palm Beach County, in Delray Beach. Let me remind you folks that our Fund the Future of Journalism campaign is in full swing, and we hope you can join us. We're a nonprofit, and all donations go right back into producing this broadcast and helping us expand into more homes and schools. You may make your donation through the secure portal at the KOP website, or you can call us at 561-665-0151. And while I'm there, let me just add that yesterday, KOP officially launched its new and improved website, and I just can't brag enough about it. Check it out. That's kopmn.org when you get a chance, please.
So a news story that is unfortunately an old story also. Riviera Beach police are cracking down on abandoned cars and cars with expired tags in the Firehouse neighborhood. We had this problem in New York when I was working for the city, and people would literally leave their cars everywhere because they didn't have the money to have them repaired. They didn't have the money for the insurance. And so what were they going to do with them? They leave them out in the street or drive them into the bank of a river. So this is a true issue that cities grapple with all over the country. And on Saturday and Sunday, January 6th and 7th, the city will have an amnesty day. Now, I assume what that means is if you've abandoned your car or you're driving without a license, that you're given an opportunity to make good on it. It's kind of hard to remove these cars. A lot of them aren't running, so you have to
cinder blocks and
you have to hire somebody to come and haul them away.
We were there yesterday and just watching them in action. That Firehouse neighborhood was lit up like a Christmas tree.
Oh, really?
They had at least 8 police cars out there, plus the code enforcement and the tow trucks, and they were hauling them out. And city employees were just riding around, and if there was a car on the street, they were just running the tags on them. And what they found out was, guess what?
Some of them were stolen.
Many of those cars, many of those tags did not belong on those cars.
Yeah.
Not only that, but many of those tags were, like I said, stolen and expired. So those vehicles went for a ride as well. But this new chief, he is not playing.
In Riviera Beach.
Well, you all created him in Delray.
Michael Coleman, absolutely.
Yeah, you all created him in Delray. So I don't know have much to say about that, but
I'd like to talk about this.
Yeah, talk to me.
Because I think that things like hauling away cars, like making sure that people follow the ordinances and the zoning, makes for much better neighborhoods. If you drive through a neighborhood,
oh, here you now. We talk about this quality of life.
Yeah.
Oh.
Should I stop?
Go on.
Well, but I think
I cannot afford to have my car fixed.
Mm-hmm.
What should I do? Put it inside the house? Wrap it up? What do I do?
Yeah. And if you're in a house that doesn't have a garage or it doesn't have an alley, where do you put it? In the front yard. So over time, that has an impact on a neighborhood. So it's really important what the police do here, what code enforcement does to make our neighborhoods not only safe, but look safe and look nice as well.
Got you. They can also donate those cars. If those cars are not running, they can donate them to a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
Let me use this plug right now. Thank you, Jeremiah, for that. If you have a vehicle that's not running and you want to get rid of it, you can also call us at 561-665-0151. We will save you. In fact, we will make sure you have a charitable write-off as permissible by law. Anyway, folks, have you ever heard people complaining all the time that all they see on the news is bad news?
Oh, this is the part I was waiting for.
They never report the good news. Wow, we hear that all the time. Well, that's really not true, because for the last half hour, you've been hearing that on this show.
Sure.
And we make sure you have a dose of good news about what young people are doing around you and even abroad.
So if you know someone who should be hanging with us, please take a moment and call or text them and let them know that the community conversation is on.
Mm-hmm.
You have time and they won't miss much.
Certainly won't. And if this is your first time hanging with us, let me be the first to welcome you. Folks, we've been providing unfiltered news. That means straight as you get it. We don't editorialize except for when Mr. John and I come in, but we have a politician in the house, so things are kind of different tonight. But when the young people are here doing it, it's straight from the horse's mouth. Generally, there are three sides they say to a news, right? Three sides?
At least three, yeah.
At least three, yeah. Anyway.
And they try to say that facts don't matter sometimes.
Is that Fox? You say that facts or Fox? If this is your first time hanging with us, like I said, we've been providing this news, and we've been doing this for the past 3 years. And folks, we are committed to ensuring that you have the latest local news about youth, whether it's about them doing great things in school, on the athletic field, or court, or even in their houses of worship. And as they say, it's now time for Trending Now with Mr. John and yours truly.
Just like this, I don't know why, but I feel like freedom. I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much freedom. Well, I'm gonna get, 'cause it's my freedom.
All right, there's no Brother John. Brother John, I was looking here, and it says, I guess, Jim, we have this, right? So Brother John is on the road, come to think of it. Wow. He is at the Ohio State versus Missouri Cotton Bowl. And where's that?
Wow.
In Dallas, he says.
Yeah,
He says he's in Dallas. So Brother
It
John.
is that time of year.
That time of year, yes.
Rose Bowls and Cotton Bowls.
So Brother John, he's my sidekick, and he is not here with us this week, but that's all right. We made it through the year, happy for our accomplishment. We're very, very proud of the yeoman's work that our team has done under the leadership of Miss Denaya Strawn. Denaya Strawn happens to be the great-granddaughter,
in-law,
great-granddaughter of Zach Strawn.
Yeah.
And the granddaughter of Randy. No. She's a student.
Oh, okay.
She's our producer.
But there is a Ms. Strong.
She's at Atlantic High School.
Yeah.
Yes. That's Dedrick Strong's spouse.
Okay.
And our engineer, how could I forget him, Jeremiah? He's on the other line. And he's on the other side of us right now, telling us that we're going too fast. Whoa, Jeremiah. It's interesting because sometimes he's telling us to speed it up. Tonight, he's saying we're going too fast. But anyway, in a few hours, Jim, we'll be celebrating New Year's Day. Lots of mermaking and all the other stuff. So the authorities have reminded us that while it's okay to shoot off fireworks and New Year's Eve, it's not always the case. Because if you live in a community controlled by, they call them homeowners associations. I call them condo commandos. But in Boca Raton,
that's what they feel, right?
Yeah. Boca Raton, Delray Beach, Boynton Beach, and I'm sure some of you listening, you have them in your neighborhoods too. Anywhere in Florida, they have they may disagree with us, and chances are they will disagree, and they have the power to fine you or have you cited by the police if you break those rules. While the state of Florida technically has no problems with fireworks on several holidays, because that's part of celebrating a holiday, right?
Absolutely.
You would think so. I have fireworks, New Year's Day, 4th of July, you name it. HOAs or property owners association or condo associations, they have powers that the state does not.
We might also want to mention the safety factor. When you were a little guy and I was a little guy, I did fireworks.
We all did.
And I remember you'd light them and you'd see that fuse going like that, and then you'd throw them. And hopefully you threw them in time, and not always.
As a reporter, I've covered numerous stories of.
Yeah. So it's fun. It's enjoyable, but you have to keep in mind that you need to be safe too.
Yep. The community association has the right, folks. They have the right to ban fireworks, then issue fines, or even ask police to file trespass charges, or even, to anyone shooting off fireworks after being told to stop. Just a word for the wise. I'm just passing it along. Speaking of word for the wise, I had a chance this week. In fact, I had an awesome opportunity, if you will, to hang out with one of the brightest minds in music. This young man, if I may now sound like our past president, immediate past president, this past week, Fernando Jones, and this brother is so brilliant, and our children are just so fortunate to have a Professor Jones. He shares some gems with them. This guy's sharp. This guy's smart.
I can see. Yeah.
And why don't you bring him in, Professor Jones. Welcome to the Palm Beaches.
Hey, what's happening, Mr. Allen?
And our Vice Mayor, Jim Shard.
All right.
Hello.
All right.
I loved your strumming.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, Professor, last year was a bit challenging, if you will, for us. You managed to get out of the Windy City, but your paisans, your teammates were grounded because of inclement weather, and you had to roll solo.
Right.
This year, though, you're all here with us, and
right.
Formally welcome you to the Palm Beach County 2023 Blues Camp.
Cool. Yeah, we've got Felton Cruz. We've got Mr. Patrick McFowler. So together with myself, we are Fernando Jones and my band. And we are the lead instructors for Blues Camp International all over the place. So we're glad to be here. The cool thing about this camp, it closes out the year. And or it could also look at as kicks the year off as well. So we're really happy to be here, and we don't take it for granted. And we feel that it is appreciated. And it's really a nice thing that the community has done for us, because often blues does not get a lot of the fanfare that other forms of music get. But to have three blues guys kicking it over the holiday break in Florida is a pretty good deal.
take us back. Why did you select Palm Beach? How did you get the idea, or how did you get to the point of introducing kids in South Florida to the blues? And why do they need it? Don't we have blues experts down here?
Well, I'll try to answer that in order.
I know Chicago is the center. So
yeah. Well, first of all, Dwayne Bryant, who is a Floridian, but he lived in Chicago for about 26 years, so we consider him to be a Chicagoan. One of the few people that had been on the Oprah Winfrey Show 3 times, is a dear friend of mine, and obviously was a friend of mine at the time when he hooked this great deal up. And C. Ron Allen is a friend of his, and Dwayne, who a lot of people call DB, but Dwayne is a person that hooks up like-minded folks. So he and C. Ron Allen are really reflections of each other. They introduce people to people all day long. And I'm a reflection of that because I do that on the other end of the spectrum. I'm always introducing people, making the world a smaller place. So the program is one thing, but the program that we have here and the program that we have all over the country and the world goes beyond music. So that's how we got a chance to get down here. Mr. Allen was kind enough and daring enough to give us an opportunity. Anytime someone gives anyone an opportunity to do something for the first time anywhere, is taking the biggest risk of all, because you can be given an opportunity and you can be a ding dong, and you can sink your program, and you could also stain the program of the person or persons who have given you an opportunity to come into their territory. But Mr. C. Ron Allen is a real American, is a real human being, and he did his due diligence. He came down and he observed Blues Camp International in Chicago, so he got a chance to see not what I wanted him to see, but what he had to see in order to make this happen. And he could speak eloquently on this subject, on how, what made him come into the fold.
What I always say is that I went to Chicago with the intent of staying one day. Went there Sunday and was going to watch the camp on Monday kickoff and then head back on Monday night. But I saw how those young people came from all over the country, and how reclusive they were in their little corners. Yeah. And the blues has a way of just getting people to open up and forget who they are, and just before you just change their mind. And on Monday, I saw them in their little zones, and I said, interesting. Let me just hang out another day. Now, airlines, how you got to keep adding every day to change. So let me hang out for another day till Tuesday. And on Tuesday, I noticed like flowers, they just started opening up. And by Wednesday, those kids were best friends.
Exactly.
Stayed to the end of the week. And what I saw on Friday when we played at the Chicago Pier, the Navy Pier.
Yes, sir.
After seeing what those kids were doing, how they bonded. And on Saturday, kids were literally crying because they were going to miss their friends. Yeah. I said, look, man, whatever you're doing and did here in Chicago, we want that in South Florida. So I came back to South Florida, shared that idea with a woman named Anita Jenkins in the city of Riviera Beach. And I said, look, I need your help to make this happen. And between Anita and some other friends, we brought them to Chicago, to Palm Beach County.
And there was nothing like that here.
No,
absolutely.
Nothing.
Yeah. Wow.
So, Professor, you've been here now 3 days, going on your 4th day. How has the ride been so far?
You know what? We're having a ball, and we're getting a chance to meet new faces and impact lives, as well as having our lives impacted. And it's a good time, and you always wish that you had a couple more days to stay in a territory or a city or a zone when you're doing a piece. And this is definitely one of those places. And I wish it was some kind of a way that we can come back and do something, even if it's a weekend in the spring or in the winter during Black History Month, or even during the time where you're having your big gala. And that kind of helps tie kids into that part of the year, then helps tie them into the end of the year. And this year, as a matter of fact, I will be celebrating my 60th birthday in February. So the whole year is going to be the 60th birthday tour. So you guys will get me when I'm vintaged the next time around.
You know, I think this is so important, and I do have a little anecdote, if you'll permit me.
Sure, sure.
Professor, did
Yes,
you ever
sir.
see Alberta Hunter
No,
when she played?
no.
This is a great story of a woman who literally disappeared and reappeared at age 94. And she started singing at a little coffee shop down in Greenwich Village, and basically took the world by storm. She was a fabulous blues singer, but imagine, you're only 60, you're young. She started becoming famous at age 94, and she packed that place. And her ability at that age, her voice, her personality was amazing. And they made a movie about her that I think everybody should see, called I think it was called Nobody Knows My Name.
I'd be interested in seeing that. If you could share that with Mr. Allen and you guys get that to me after the cast.
Okay.
I'll definitely try to dig that up.
But that's what the blues is about, is stories like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like you two. It is a documentary form of form. You know, it documents what's happening. Sometimes it's fantasy, sometimes it's real. You know, I do a mix of both as a songwriter. You know, I like to write songs about lovely women, cars, guitars, things like that. But I also tell stories and tell the news and share the news. There's one of the latest pieces that I wrote, and it just comes to me. There's a young man, well, is no longer with us. He would be probably 100 and something years old now, named Major Taylor. He was the first professional Black athlete in the United States of America in the 1800s, and he was a cyclist. And back then, cyclists and boxers, that would be equivalent to, I would guess, you know, LeBron James playing basketball or Cam Newton or somebody playing football. So it was a really, really big deal. And, you know, you compound supremacy during that time. And it made it even greater, the story. So I had an opportunity to write a song. Hopefully it'll be placed in a PBS documentary that's based on his life. And this guy was so dynamite that there are cycling clubs named after him all over the world. He was huge in France. And so it was just kind of like going through a resurgence, kind of like that Alberta Hunter piece that you know.
Yeah, these stories have to be told, and they're being lost. You know, one of the things that Ciron and I will work with here in Delray is African American history, Black history, and I think for a small southern city, we've done an amazing job. But there's a lot more to be done.
Yeah. You know, I see, you know, down here in Florida and in Texas and places like that, they're, you know, rewriting history by eliminating text, things like that. And it's such an unfortunate piece. And that's where the blues man or the blues woman person comes in. And hip hop is blues, you know. So, you know, our rap artists, you know, even though it's a category and subcategory, so on and so forth, you know, a lot of those guys and girls are you know, documenting what's happening, just with a different set of instruments, which could be turntables or sampling machines, MPCs, you know. But with all due respect to the musicians, there are a ton of musicians in Florida and all over the world, but this is, you know, this is our 2 cents. And if everybody puts their 2 cents in, maybe we'll have, you know, $1 to the world one day.
Well, I hope your dream of coming back here more than once a year is one that gets fulfilled. We may have to talk about that.
Yep. See how we can make that happen.
Thank you. What else you got for me, guys?
So I understand that you're not always looking for the next superstar.
Definitely.
But when they will look back on their time with you, you know, what do you think they'll see as really important?
I think they will have had an opportunity to be in a space of friendliness, a place where social, emotional learning was happening. And it just so happened to be done through the lens of the blues. You know, when I was a little kid, I had an opportunity to come to, out to Disneyland and all that kind of stuff, coming from a Chicago and inner city situation. But I had, parents and older sisters and brothers that knew the value of exposure. And so one of the things that Patrick, Felton, and myself give these kids an opportunity is to be exposed to life situations and fun situations. The blues component is just a little small piece. That's what I do and what I am. Started off as a kid, but I would imagine if I were the same Fernando Jones and I went into medicine or mathematics, it would probably be, mathematic kids of America or medicine or medical kids of America, something like that, because that's who I am, the core of who I am, one who is altruistic and unselfish enough to share. That's one of the cool things about being a mentor in any form. You have to be selfless, but you also have to remember when you were a kid, when you were vulnerable, when you were impressionable. Mm-hmm. And sometimes mentors can come in different forms. Sometimes the mentor can be a bad guy or a bad girl or something that leads you down the path of bad stuff or good things. I think about our basketball coach in grammar school, Andrew Sumlin, who was a globetrotter, oddly enough. And, he spent so much time keeping the gym. We call it the gym the center, keeping the gym open. We were grammar school kids, and we had fiberglass backboards, the square kind. We had, we had a college gym as grammar school kids. And in the summer, he would strip the floor by himself and put a couple coats of seal on the floor by himself. So the gym was shut down for maybe 2 or 3 days just for that whole process to happen. Then gym would be open back up. And we lived in a neighborhood that was a mix of middle class folk. Cecil Partee lived on, Senator Cecil Partee, great Kappa man, lived on our block. We had Catholic schools, we had churches, we had public schools, and we also had housing projects within one block of where we live. So it was, it was a world unto itself. But this one man who ran the gym, or the center as we called it, which was like right in the center, the crossroad between the Catholic school, square kids, and the rough public school kids. So by him opening that gym up, he would, I guess if school started at 8 o'clock in the morning back in the 1970s and got out at 2:30, we'd have basketball camp and we played basketball practice after school, maybe from 3 o'clock to 5. Then the high school boys would come that played for him, and they would come and it would be like a social center for them. So they would be there from about 5 to 7. Then after that, the neighborhood kids would be there. So he spent very, very little time at home with his wife and with his own kids, which was something that you see a lot of times with mentors. They sacrifice their, a lot of times their own families. But his family, his wife understood, his children understood, because we in the community were his children. So saying all that to say this here, even though I put in a lot of work and I'm here on purpose and I'm serious and all this kind of stuff, but I had to have seen it somewhere in order to know that it could be possible. So Andrew Sumlin is part of who I am. My father is part of who I am. I always say, boy, always be able to put your hands on something, which, men try to save some money and, save money for a rainy day and all this kind of stuff, just being prepared to be a human being. So
it sounds like you should write a song about him. I mean, those are the kinds of stories that are so important, but hard to preserve.
You're right.
How long you been singing and playing, Professor?
I started when I was 4 years old, and I've been
over 50 years.
Yes, a long time, man.
Well, you mentioned earlier about a PBS documentary, isn't it? Yes. Almost time. Isn't it time now for them to do one on you?
Hey, that would be great. Oddly enough, in the words of my other frat brother, Dr. Jamie DeWan, I'm glad you asked that question. There's a young lady named Rita. She's a big time movie producing person, and they have a piece that is killing all of the film festivals now called The One Man Note. And Stephen Warbuck, I may be mispronouncing his name, but he is the gentleman who won the Oscar for composing the music to Shakespeare in Love. And he has done the score for that piece. And they just, within the last 2 weeks, it was just announced that One Man Note is on the list for an Oscar. It has been Oscar nominated in the film short category. So this film team, they're going to do a documentary on Blues Camp and Fernando Jones, and they're going to start shooting in the spring and go all the way through the summer. And all the places that we have Blues Camp, they're going to be in a position to travel around with us. So maybe if we can come back and do a one-off here in the spring, even if it's a weekend or something, a weekend, one-day Blues Camp, just to get Florida in the mix. And they're and they're going to follow, what do they call it? Trace, whatever it is, shadow or follow. I guess they call it follow. Yeah. 6 to 8 of the blues kids that have been in the program, and that may consist of them, watching the kids when they get up in the morning and eat at breakfast. I'm likening it to a 2023 version or 2024 version of Hoop Dreams. And so that's
I remember that movie.
Yeah.
So it is now 8 o'clock, 8:02. And if you're out there joining us and viewers, we ask that you bear with us. This is not your regular show. This is our final show of the year. And we have some very interesting guests in the studio and on the line right now. So please bear with us for a few more minutes. Professor, this is your 4th year in the Sunshine State. And I heard you've been you like it so much down here that you've been eyeing our neighbors in the Bahamas. Is there what's the lure? Is it the weather or opportunity to expose young minds to this form of art in the Bahamas? Talk to me about it.
Well, it's even simpler than that. My father taught me, he said, love who loves you. And anybody that is brave enough to support the blues, with the blues being not a very popular form of music, and supporting, this little guy from Chicago, I'll go. I imagine if they invited us to go to Iceland or Greenland and the timing worked out and the resources were there, we would go. But of course, I guess the lure would be a tropical climate, getting a chance to meet kids and adults who are interested in the blues and learning about what they do musically as well. And then finding out, seeing how, the music that comes from West Africa that caramelized in the United States as the blues down to Mississippi and New Orleans and Chicago, so on and so forth, how we're different, but we're really the same.
The blues, I guess, is what, 125 years old, give or take, and depending on when you start counting. Back in 1921, Mamie Smith made the first commercially satisfactory sound recording with a record called Crazy Blues. So, it's kind of like hip hop. They say this is the 50th year for hip hop, but, they've got flyers that were 10 years before the 50 years, so it depends where you mark it from. You could also say, with the birth of the recording industry, 1921. You could also say, when B.B. King says, everybody wants to know why I sang the blues, maybe the blues was created during the Middle Passage as we know it today. Yeah.
Maybe it was, maybe it was purely created in Mali. You know what I mean?
It certainly appeared before there were recordings. So it goes back a long way. But where does it go from here? Is it expanding?
Well, I think the thing that my whole thing is, I like to say keeping the blues healthy. So many of my contemporaries say keep the blues alive, and I really object to that phrase. Even being a Keeping the Blues Alive award recipient, keeping it alive is like it's going to die, but it really won't die because it's part of the molecular structure of hip hop, rock and roll. Neil Young said that, hey, my rock and roll will never die. So rock and roll will never die. Blues will never die. But it's very important, even though it will never die. I think that it should be healthy because, of course, we don't want the blues to never die, yet being on life support. with a poor quality of life. So what our philosophy is, and I guess our thesis of what's happening, is to try to keep the blues healthy. Well, and one way to do that is to introduce children to the blues and not force feed it to them, but catch them where they are as part of my teaching philosophy and bring them to where it is that you want them to be. And also during this process, it evolves. You start teaching about blues or anything, and you're almost like a gangster. It's this way, it's this way, it's this way. And then you learn what they know, and you say, okay, it's a give and take, even though you're still the adult in the room. But those elements, over 100-something years ago, the technology that we have now, of course, was not invented. So you have to move and grow and evolve with the times, still keeping part of that molecular structure that we spoke of.
Professor, what's happening with what I would call kind of classic music that is blues tinged? And you think of Rhapsody in Blue and Porgy and Bess. Where is that gone to?
I don't understand. Where's it? Or what category? I don't understand what.
Well, no, I'm saying obviously Rhapsody in Blue is played by symphonies all over the world. Porgy and Bess is honored as some of the most beautiful music ever written. It's all blues based. Has that evolved in any particular direction? Is it still with us today, or?
Well, I still don't understand the question, but I'll try to answer it. Classical music, has a staple in the world culturally. It is a music that is Eurocentric based. It's a form of music that is written down, so it has an intellectual property to it. On the other end of the spectrum, when you look at blues, stereotypically, traditionally, it's supposed to be written by people who are not necessarily brilliant, which is a matter, of opinion. You look at a group of people that may not have been able to read or write, that opened the door for people to be able to go to Harvard and to be able to go to Morehouse, so on and so forth. So that has its place. I think the struggle that the blues has is the fact that it is an oral tradition form of music. And we, as most of the blues folks that I have known in my life, have a great ear, and most of us play by ear, but some of us, can write charts and all this kind of stuff, So I think there's always going to be a place for blues, and Black blues in particular, because it's important to make that distinction, because there's a misconception that Blacks don't support and don't play the blues. And the blues is a multi-million-dollar industry. And when that is peddled about, and then Blacks believe that, then they don't participate in this diversity and equitable, inclusive piece of time, So
now I know why you're the professor.
Yeah, well, I'm just I'm just a guy who has lived a life and didn't seek out to be a blues guy or any kind of guy. I was just a kid. I wanted to be a kid forever and watch cartoons, and be a cartoon.
One of your fans just texted us and asked us, will there be Blues Camp this summer in Chicago, and when will that be?
Yes, Blues Camp International will be the second week of July on the campus of Columbia College, Chicago. I would love to be able to do a camp on the campus. Two wish list places that I would love to be able to do a blues camp, even if it was for a day. I would love to be able to do one at your alma mater at Harvard, and I would love to be able to do one at Morehouse. And I say that because those are like the, Morehouse, of course, being, at the pinnacle of male higher learning here in the United States, in a school that I try to support as much as I can. I graduated from the University of Illinois at Chicago, but I'm fascinated by Morehouse College. My best buddy, Kappa man, is a Morehouse man, and just to see Martin Luther King, Benjamin Mays, so on and so forth. So just to be on that campus and to bring something that is rooted in Blackness and America to that campus, and as well as some of the ground where W.B. Du Bois went, and you, sir, to be able to do. And I say those two schools because we could play the blues forever in a nightclub, and that's where it will stay. I think in order to get it the respect, like when we talked about, the Gershwin tunes and things like that, it has to have some sort of an academic bonding to it.
Right.
If you had blues camp on the campus of Harvard, it would jump 100 years from being something that was looked at as, field hollers and, inaudible songs and so on and so forth, to being, okay, this has credibility. So now when you come back and you do a blues camp in Florida or the south side of Chicago or wherever.
Harvard was progressive when they hired Dubois. Maybe they're still progressive, and they do have a African-American female president.
For how long?
Who has a few challenges, but maybe they'll bring blues camp and show they are progressive.
I think Dr. Elizabeth Hinton, who I've never met, we correspond. I think she might still be there. But if you have any connections, or if you and Brother Allen want to,
I know Bill Nix, who is a very influential graduate of the Morehouse. And he happens to be a proud Alpha man, and I'm sure it's a conversation that we will be having in the near future. Every now and then we got to hook up a Kappa.
Yeah.
I don't mind hooking up a Kappa, brother.
Bill's not busy now.
Bill has time. Speaking of which, Professor, I am being told that one of your sons is here with us. You've been asking about him for some time now.
Did I see Day Day? Did I see Day Day today?
No, not Day Day, but this is DJ. Unfortunately.
What's up, DJ? Where's DJ? What's up, Neff? What's happening?
What's good, Fernando Jones? How are you today?
Good. How's your brother, man? How's everybody?
I'm good. We're calling from the Panama City. It's in the 40s. So
what's up, little brother?
Hey.
Hey, look, I will never
miss you, Mr. Jones.
I miss you too, man. I will never forget that purple shirt and you in the field with that echo microphone. I will never, ever, ever, ever forget that. I love it. How's your grandfather?
Good. He's resting right now.
He's resting?
It's already nighttime.
Where are you guys?
In Panama City,
Florida.
Wow. Y'all killing, man.
Tristan, is that Panama City in the country of Panama or Florida?
Florida.
Okay.
The Florida Panama, not that other. In the Panhandle.
Okay, so what have you been doing? What's your day like, Tristan? What do you do in Panama City?
Well, I went to the arcade and we played superhero games, and these are the cards DJ got.
Oh, okay. What about you? Did you win anything?
Yep. I'll show you the rubber ducky. I had a rubber ducky.
Rubber ducky. Okay. DJ, we're missing a great time in camp. I know you're there with family, but just want to let you know we're having a great time in camp this year. Speaking of which, Professor, just last week, a few weeks ago, DJ won the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Oratorical Contest here in town in Palm Beach County. So he's the 2023 winner of that contest. Congratulations, young man.
So which speech did he do? Did he do the Selma? Did he do the jail speech, or did he do the I Have a Dream? What did he do? Or did he do the last?
I had to make my own speech.
Okay, it was
a prompt.
Huh?
It was the prompt.
It was I understand. It was what?
What was the topic, DJ?
What would Dr. King say to us today about hope for tomorrow?
Okay, cool. Share that. Have your folks to share that with Mr. Allen. I would love. Was it videotaped?
Yes, it was, and I'll make sure you get it, sir.
Okay. How long was the piece?
It wasn't long. It was around 2 to 3 minutes.
Did you memorize this or?
No, I didn't memorize it. It was an essay.
You'll be performing at the breakfast in a few weeks.
Oh, good.
Man. All right. Well, hey, man, I know you guys got bigger fish to fry in Panama City, so I'm going to yield time back to Mr. Allen. Mr. Shard.
DJ, yes, Professor, thank you for your time, sir. Now, DJ, Professor, thank you, sir.
No, I was just saying, hey, I was
than this.
DJ, how difficult was it? Excuse me. How difficult was it preparing for this contest, and how did you prepare for it?
Well, it was hard trying to get my words on my head onto the paper that I was writing on, and figuring out a way to connect it all together. And the hardest part wasn't so much as saying it, but it was connecting the words to a point in my head that I was able to create.
Can you tell us what you did say, or what the sort of the summary of your 4 or 5 minutes was?
Okay, I can tell you guys what I said. Just
okay.
Hang on.
You know, DJ, your while you search for that, your cadence was somewhat different from previous presentations. You were much slower. Was that intentional, or how do you explain that?
It was intentional. My mom came up with the idea of speaking more slowly and being able to really enunciate my words, because my grandma, she can't really hear that well, and nor can my grandpa. So when I say it slower like this, it's able to help them hear it, and I'm able to send my message across more clearly.
Gotcha. Give us a sneak preview before the Martin Luther King breakfast.
Okay. What would Dr. King say to us today about hope for tomorrow? This is a question that has been on my mind lately, and I believe that Dr. King would remind us of the power of hope in times of darkness. Despite the challenges we face as a society, we must hold on to a belief that a better future is possible. Dr. King would urge us to continue to fight for justice and equality, no matter how difficult it may seem. That's all I'm giving to you guys. The rest you're gonna have to find out at the
and the way you emphasize some of those words, that really got across.
Yep. Well, DJ, guess what? I look forward to hearing you in a few weeks, live and in person, brother. Safe travel back. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Take care now.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Good meeting you.
Now, Jim, New Year's Eve is a time, in fact, just a couple of hours, and look at the clock, a couple hours away from New Year's Eve. It's a time to reflect on the passing year and focus on the goals you'd like to achieve in the coming year. It's also a time to remember all of the hardships and accomplishment you've lived through. Time to reminisce on all the loved ones you've had by your side and through everything. Now, it's also a time for some to party, and for some, like myself, a time to worship. So they usher, just like myself, usher in the new year in church. How do you generally usher in the new year?
That's a good question. I generally do not shoot fireworks. I don't generally party, but really thinking about, and you kind of mentioned remembering people, but you also remember people who passed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think both sort of in the public of people that we've lost this year, and in the private of our own families and hearts. And I find in some respects you value them more because you realize what has been lost. And it's for me kind of a solemn evening. I don't really like to watch the TV and the ball, and people telling jokes and so forth, but
Same
just
here.
Sort of relaxing and thinking and preparing for the next year.
Traditionally for me, it's going to church. I've always think back in my Navy days, obviously we were at sea, but traditionally I've always been in church on just something I grew up with. Do you have a favorite tradition?
I mean, other than getting together with family and eating too much.
You know, there's so many out there.
Yeah. I think each one is different.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of sneaks up on you because it's kind of hiding behind Christmas and you know, you prepared for Christmas and then all of a sudden, what do you know? It's the New Year. So it's kind of relaxed. And I'd like to be with friends. And I don't have any family down here, so friends are truly important.
You like me too. I don't have any families down here, but guess what? My favorite is the Midnight Kiss. Never done it, but something I always wanted to do. But like I said, I've always been in church around New Year's. And I know everybody out there saying, want to kiss on New Year's. It's just, I just, you know, so that's something I've always been found fascinating.
Yeah. Plan it for next one.
Well, the actor shared a kiss at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve has transcended time, and did some research, found out, you know, many cultures carving profound symbolism and tradition, but from ancient customs rooted in Roman festival, that has been something that people have been doing. It's signifying hope and love and renewal. So, folks, the act of kissing at the stroke of midnight signifies the exchange of good wishes and positive energy for the year. Our positive energy.
Kisses are pretty positive.
Well, we'll see. Okay, one that many viewers can relate to is the Black Eyed Peas. We're not going to get into that tonight, but down here I learned a lot about that. But guess what, folks? Here at Community Conversations, we take full advantage of remote technology to engage the next generation with news that will inform without fear and educate without opinion. We have some happy birthday to Tristan Willis, Elton Lewis, and our very own Denia Strawn. From all our friends here at Community Conversations.
A huge thanks to all the adults, parents, grandparents, educators, and responsible community servants who every Friday night hang out with us to share ideas and install values in us, the leaders of tomorrow. We hear from you in the streets, we get your texts and emails, and we value your feedback. You are indeed contributing to your community as our mentors. And for that, we say thank you.
Hi guys, I am Brittany McLagan from St. Mary Technical in Jamaica. I want to say big up to Community Conversations.
Here at KOP, we believe that leadership training prepares youth to manage their time, work in a team setting, set goals, start conversations, facilitate meetings, and make effective presentations, all of which are positive life skills that they will carry into adulthood. Please direct your attention to our friend, Mr. John Maxwell, for our Leadership Minute.
Welcome to Minute with Maxwell. My name is John. Sometimes when we talk about the word grace, we think of like saying a prayer before a meal. In fact, sometimes people say, would you like to say grace? When I think of the word grace, I just think of it as such a beautiful word that lifts every person that experiences it. Let me explain what I mean. Giving grace to somebody is allowing them to have the benefit of the doubt. We all have bad days, but let me ask you a question. Do you want to be known and recognized by the bad days in your life? I mean, think about it for a moment. Okay, I know. Just raise your hand right now if you've ever had a bad day. Okay, in fact, I got both hands up. You know, if I'm in the studio, I'd get my legs up if I could. We've all had bad days. Do you know what I appreciate the most when I'm having a very difficult day? What I appreciate more than anything else is somebody giving me some grace, some slack, saying it's okay. We've all been there, and encourage me to love myself unconditionally and get back up and get going. It's a great word. Wow. I've often said if I ever had another daughter or granddaughter, I think grace would be a good word. I just want to be that kind of person myself. I think you do too. Thanks for being with me today on Minute with Maxwell.
Photographer and engineer behind tonight's show is our superstar, Jeremiah, a proud product of Dr. Joaquin KWON Garcia High School.
Okay, that's a new high school out there in West Lantana. Actually, it's Juan Garcia.
Juan.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a call sign.
Yeah, call sign. Juan.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, that's the last one. Excuse me. There's one being built in Boca, I was told.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And in Delray, we are redoing old Carver High,
and
which I'm sure you've talked about.
And Plumosa as well.
Plumosa?
No, I mean,
Pine Grove. Yeah. Plumosa had theirs with the middle school.
Middle school, yeah.
Which is a great, great school. To find past community conversations, visit our YouTube channel and type in KOP Mentoring Network in the search bar.
And as you know, the segment is brought to you by the Women's Club of Delray Beach, which has been improving the quality of life for residents of this beautiful city since its inception in 1902. Are you aware of the work that the Women's Club did in this city?
Library,
the bridge over the Intercoastal Waterway.
Amazing.
Bethesda Hospital.
Yeah.
And as I've been telling everybody, if you see Joyce Patrick, I would love for her to come in here, and she needs to be doing this. So please help me get her in here.
Joyce Patrick, for your viewers who don't know, is
the unofficial mayor of the Black community in Delray Beach.
Yeah.
And I stand corrected. The unofficial mayor of Delray Beach.
Well, she's corrected me on that before. Yeah. And just so dedicated and so much involved in the city.
Very much.
And very much of a woman of her own opinion.
That's Miss Patrick.
Yes. Hopefully she's listening to us.
Yes. Oh, she's a faithful listener.
Before we go, shout outs to our community conversations classrooms. Mrs. Jeffries and her colonials at Albert Gallatin South Middle School in Point Marion, Pennsylvania.
Yes, and Mrs. Briggs and her Gators at Geist Schools in Fishers, Indiana.
And Mrs. Chestnut and her Eagles at Greenbank Middle School in Greenbank, West Virginia.
Now, friends, that will be about due for this week's episode of Community Conversations. Wow, 8:30. Jeremiah, you the best. Please join us again next week when we will have another dose of news by and about what young people are doing both in the community and around the world. From the entire team here, Jeremiah, Denaya, Rihanna, Delina, John, Brother John, yours truly, and Jim.
I've been delighted to be here and participate.
Thank you.
Honored to be asked.
Thank you very much. And by the way, you have a major event coming up in a few months. Didn't get a chance to talk about that. We got to bring you back. But quickly, what's that about?
Well, we're having a big city election, and I've decided to put my toe in the water and run for city commissioner
again.
I really enjoy it. I really love working for cities and seeing what change you can make. And I would advocate to any of your watchers or listeners that one of the careers they think about is a career in politics, because it's really a whole nother way to give back.
I definitely want to get you back here. Please, one evening, we're just going to focus on why. Who is Jim Shard? Why? Because you'd have unfinished business from the first term. And, why Jim Shard, a second term?
I'd love to do that.
All right. On that note, goodbye and have a safe and happy New Year.
Thank you for tuning in for another amazing rendition of Community Conversations. If you like what you saw tonight, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing with friends, families, and even acquaintances. Be sure to tune back next week for another amazing edition of Community Conversation.
Those new tiles are falling right into place until you run out of, what are those called again? Oh, right. The Home Depot app is made for doing that doesn't miss a beat. So you can find what you need fast and keep things moving in the right direction. For doing that doesn't stop, download the Home Depot app. It's made for doing.
Once you join KW Commercial Community, then the world of commercial real estate business opens up to you. KW Commercial is a community of 2,500 plus brokers and growing. Once you're inside the community, you have access to specific commercial real estate tools that all the other residential agents don't have access to. You have access to specific training on showing you how to become a top producing commercial broker. You have networking events, you have masterminds, you have the marketing package. You also have the relationships with other people who are inside the community who have experienced success at a higher level or a different market that you can tap into and learn and grow from. We have the answer within our organization.
I got homes for sale, condos. I got homes for sale, townhomes. I got homes for sale, single family. I got homes for sale, condos. I got homes for sale, townhomes. I got homes for sale, single family. I got homes for sale, condos. I got homes for sale, townhomes. I got homes for sale, condos. I got homes for sale, townhomes. I got homes for sale, single family. I got homes for sale, condos. I got homes for sale, townhomes. I got homes for sale, single family. I got homes for sale, condos. I got homes for sale, townhomes.